So we're standing down in the Burncoose mist houses, and as you can see, the propagating bench is starting to fill up. And where does one start with taking cuttings? Well, the first things you need to take cuttings of are the things that you don't think will survive the winter. So that's osteospermums, argyranthemums, those pretty things that you put on the edge of the border or in containers and you expect them to die over the winter. But there are a lot of other things which have subtle new growth where you ought to be taking cuttings really late June, early July, because they'll root away very quickly, and the end result is that you will have a rooted plant to pot on and overwinter in a small pot. So here our propagators have been starting to get cracking, and here they've set a wonderful tray of Acacia Baeliana purpurea. That is a thing which puts on its new growth, and basically you're taking the new growth when it's subtle enough to bend but not too hard. You're trimming off a lovely callus there where this little twig was broken away from the stem. That's been inserted in hormone rooting powder and inserted in a mixture of perlite and peat and sand. And we expect that to root really quite quickly. I fear that I'll be in trouble because I've interfered with this perfect tray of young cuttings. But if you look at Olearia silionensis over here, you can see that already those cuttings have rooted. If I pull one up, you can see that's rooted, and that's all happened in about 6 weeks. And you can see the new growth coming. Those plants are ready for potting already, and on we go. These little rosemaries here, they haven't been set very long, but they won't take long to root either. So there are many common plants, hydrangeas particularly, but we've got a whole range of things here which you take softwood cuttings from softwood new growth. By the end of July, as we've started here, you move on to taking some of your evergreen rhododendrons and treating them in the same way. They will take much longer to root. They probably won't be capable of rooting or potting until next year. But next to them we've got a nice little batch of Weigelia and abutilons, and I can see that those abutilons have started to root already, which these rhododendrons won't have. Propagation like this involves a great degree of trial and error, and propagators get to know exactly when in each month to take what to ensure that it propagates properly. There is a rule book, but the rule book is fairly vague, and for these softwood cuttings taken early in the season, the new growth needs to be supple and not too hardened off and not too woody, and it'll root quickly, and then it'll make room for you to do some of your more difficult evergreen cuttings later in the autumn. And we'll come back and look at them in a couple of months.